Hello, everyone. My name is Angie Peacock. I'm a female combat veteran, a psychiatric drug withdrawal consultant, and a healing coach. Welcome to my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe below and hit the little bell so you can get notified of the recent uploads. Today, we have Dr. Rani Bora. She is a holistic psychiatrist and a coach from the UK. I first met Dr. Bora on Twitter a few years ago, and I sort of watched her waking up process. Like, she's very holistically minded, but then some harmed patients were interacting with her, and she was actually listening to them and hearing their stories and dialoguing with them back and forth. And anybody who knows Twitter and psych Twitter, it's not a friendly place. So I just sort of watched that whole thing unfold, and I saw her evolution even more than she already was, which was a lot. We also did a mental wealth summit with her and her husband, Suraj, with Medicating Normal. So they did a screening. They did this huge mental wealth summit with all these fantastic speakers. It was amazing. So I really enjoyed talking to Dr. Rani, and I hope you do. I hope you enjoy listening to her. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. That's such a lovely introduction. Lovely introduction. I think you're right. I think even if I were to look back in my Twitter and people I was following, I didn't have any clue at all. I think until a few years ago, to be honest. And even then, I was like, okay, I'm not sure about this. And but the more I have been open, the more I've been listening to the voices of so-called prescribed harm community, I realized, oops, oh my goodness, even I must have made so many mistakes like this. And I'm just very mindful that that's my learning journey, and I'm so grateful that my learning journey has been through Twitter, not through medical school or not through what we have been taught, but through Twitter, and then following up the latest research. Because again, I'm sure most of my colleagues are not even aware of some of the latest research.
That's right. Yeah. And I think that's what part of this whole, we're going to talk about healing today, obviously, but part of my healing has been sort of being able to dialogue and have very uncomfortable dialogue with people who might not understand what I went through, or uncomfortable from the other side. So I think there is something to that, just to be open-minded and to try to learn from a different person's point of view. I think nothing's going to change unless we can do that. So you're ahead of the game.
Oh no, thank you. And you know what? Sometimes I think this is not just to medication and prescribed harm, but in anything in life, we think we are open, and then we are still like we get defensive, like when someone shakes our core beliefs, like, okay, no, no, what do you mean? Like I know I'm doing it right. And I think again, this applies in any area of our life, and even to people, I would say, and just to be very open, even if we think we know best in terms of tapering or in terms of what's happening to my health or in terms of me being a professional, there's some more to learn. So I know that there's more for me to learn. So I wanted to talk about right at the beginning about the need for openness in anything, including the healing journey.
Absolutely. I mean, I could not agree with you more. And I already know I'm going to learn something from you today, so I'm excited to get to that. First I'm
I
going
don't
to
know what you're going to learn, Angie.
Yeah, because I can't wait. I can't wait to hear. I can't wait. I'm always learning. I hear things new every day, and I'm like, oh wow, that's fascinating. I never thought of it that way. I'm just a curious person, so I agree with you. Curiosity, openness, being uncomfortable, being okay with being uncomfortable. These are all really good things for healing and life in general. So I'll read your bio, even though we might not need to, but and then we'll jump right into the amazing discussion that we have planned. So Dr. Rani Bora, she helps people overcome stress, depression, anxiety, and overwhelm, and reconnect to their mental health to lead their best life. She understands that when people fully commit to coaching and taking action, they often find that they do not need to embark on a path of psychiatric diagnosis or commence on medication. Dr. Rani is aware of the risks, referred to sometimes as prescribed harm, associated with taking psychiatric drugs. Over several years, she has gained experience and expertise in helping individuals discontinue psychiatric medications gradually and safely. Dr. Rani is a holistic psychiatrist and coach, helping her clients to lead their best life by addressing their mind, body, and soul. Through her work, she aims to empower individuals to be the best versions of themselves. No one can be broken, and everyone has the power to heal themselves. With this driving mantra, Rani works tirelessly with individuals, families, communities, and organizations worldwide so that change is possible for everyone. What she offers is unique, and if you're ready to commit to change, she can help you achieve it. I love it. All of it. Okay, so let's start off with the very first premise, because there's a lot of confusion about this in our community. And even for me, I was like, what is the difference between like therapy and coaching, but also psychiatry, and maybe like what's the different perspective of, like, say, coaching versus therapy, in your opinion?
Okay, so let me deal with the easiest one, which is psychiatry. So whenever someone has any symptom of ill health, mental ill health, the primary care physician might try to help them. And if they feel that they are not being helped, then they might send them to the expert, which is, we call it mental health services, or that's psychiatry, as you mentioned. And psychiatrists are, we go through medical school, and we are supposed to be experts in terms of any disorder of the brain and the mind. And so that's very simplistic version. So if someone is looking for diagnosis, someone is looking for specific mental health intervention, they might end up seeing a psychiatrist. And so that's putting that on the side. So what's the difference between a therapist and a coach? Therapists are people, again, who are working with people with any symptom of ill health, like it could be mental health symptoms or physical health, because some people might have physical health issues and they might still go and see a psychiatrist or a therapist because they feel that, okay, there are some emotional stuff they need to process. And what happens is in a therapy session, invariably is like going back to the past and trying to explore where did this problem first start, and then trying to, in a way, analyze the past, and for the person to understand their experience and everything, and then say, okay, let's what can we do about it? And that's part of the healing. And I know that some people do benefit from therapy. And when we say therapy, even cognitive behavior therapy, CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, is also one type of therapy, where it's not looking so much into the past, but they might still look at some kind of things, conditioning that might have happened at a very early age, and then how the belief started, and then try to help that.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, on the other hand, a life coach, on the other hand, they don't do therapy. It's not like saying that, okay, there's something wrong with you and let's try to fix you, or try to figure out what happened in the past and why you are presenting the way you're presenting. It's like, okay, you say you want to, you're dissatisfied with your life, with some aspect of your life, and you want to create something different from what you have been creating so far. Let me help you. And the coach does not see themselves as an expert. So they might have training. They would have training in coaching, and they do coaching, but they know that the person is the expert in their own area, and the coach is just like supporting them by asking them questions, being curious, being open, and then pointing out something that doesn't resonate, or challenging them. Again, there are different kind of coaches working differently, but a coach would clearly not look back into the past and say, okay, let's try to explore the past and why you did what you did, and why you're doing it now. That's not the point of coaching. The coaching is, yes, stuff happened to you, and you might have to have therapy if you think you want to revisit the past. But my job is to help you move on from reporting your life, telling me all the things that's wrong with your life, to like creating a new life, creating a something that you want to step into. That's how I see it.
Perfect. Yeah, I like that definition. I also like the thing about coaching I like the most is like, what are we doing right now? Like, what is happening right now? Like, if you are feeling lonely, a therapist might come at it like, well, when did you first have that feeling? Did your parents, did that come from being abandoned as a child or something? And then a coach would say, you're lonely right now. How can we create connection? What would move you towards connection? Those things. I just
Yeah.
like it because it feels more like action oriented instead of, I let me just put it like this. I have done like 15 years of therapy and it's like, to a certain point, I'm just talking about the same stuff over and over and over. And it almost makes it feel like it keeps it present for me. Like,
Mm.
okay, I'm tired of talking about it. Like, I'm done. I need to, and so I often wonder, has therapy made me like more neurotic because I'm always searching for something wrong and like, where did this come from and who, you know, it's like made me a little crazy. So now I'm like, I want to just do the coaching. What's going on now? How can we create the best life going forward?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the coach might also, like when you said, giving, taking your example of the loneliness, it's the coach won't even won't just say, okay, what's happening now? How can you create more connection? And they might also say like, okay, this they might also identify a limiting belief about what it means to be lonely.
Right.
But they won't have to dig the past to say when we last lonely, but they might still say, okay, this belief, oh, and tell me more about the loneliness. And they might see like whenever I'm on my own, I'm feeling lonely. And then they might just challenge us in a nice way of coaching. Then they realize that, oh, just because I'm alone does not mean I'm lonely. It could that I could still be connected to
Right.
a deeper part of me, to like to what's available around me. Because I think sometimes when people think lonely, they think that okay, the way to not feel lonely is by making lots and lots of social context, and they
Yeah.
also know that that's not what they're looking for. There's something like deeper level of connection they're looking for, and maybe starting with a connection with themselves.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's a great point. I love that. Um, and just not thinking there's something wrong with you because you are lonely. It's more like, that's not what I want right now. I want something different. I'm not quite sure how to get it, but I'm willing to explore that. I love that. It's beautiful. Yeah, so we're kind of dancing around the whole mind, body, spirit thing. That loneliness, for instance, could be connected to that, or depression or anxiety or any of those things. So let's explore mind, body, spirit as it relates to the healing path. What do you think about these topics?
Well, I think this is a fascinating topic we don't talk about enough in mental health. And I think that's what's missing. We think that, okay, someone has to have like religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs in order for us to explore the spiritual side, like the mind, body, spirit. Otherwise, we know that there's definitely a mind and body connection. So we just look at mind and body. And it could be when you think of mind, we say, okay, let's do some talking therapy, like psychology sessions
Mhm.
and then okay and let's look at drugs, let's look at something for the physical health, like eat healthy and go for walks and that kind of thing. All of that are, could be very useful. But I also know that many people, when they go through when they're diagnosed with depression, that could be because they had some major setbacks in life. That's like suddenly they are asking about what's the meaning of life, and they might be going through an existential crisis of some kind. That's more of a spiritual crisis, not knowing who I am anymore because of the loss, that the bereavement, this thing and the other. And we know that okay, CBT might help someone just to explore their thoughts and beliefs around that and comes to terms. Medication might help in the short term to numb them, but ultimately there is something else missing for people. It's like a quest to know themselves, although they might not articulate it that way. It's like we are always at some point asking, what's the meaning of all this? What's the meaning of life? And I think those are the deeper questions that mental health, we hasn't figured out a way to answer those. And because we are looking at measuring and we are looking at evidence-based medicine, and when it comes to spirituality, we both know that it's very hard to measure spirituality
Yes.
or the intelligence behind life. How on earth are we going to measure something that we can't even see, we
Right.
can't even hear, we can't even like say this is it? We can't say this is it, let's measure that. We can't do it. But we also
Right.
know that we feel a connection with something deeper than us, like most people feel a connection for nature. How do you measure that?
And that's me. I'm thinking while you're speaking, I was thinking like, what was the role of mind, body, spirit in my own like healing path? And like now, nature is huge. Like I cannot, like if I'm in like a house or an apartment I'm like, how do people live in four walls with no windows open and they sit inside all day? Like I don't even understand it anymore. Like I'm always got the windows open but but like I can't like I self-regulate by taking walks, and I hike and I'm really quiet. I turn my phone off, I listen to the birds, I walk, I feel the ground beneath my feet, and it's become such a part of me. I don't even think of it as like this is my spiritual self. It's just this is who I am, this is what I do. But then the whole mind body thing, it became so clear to me during the withdrawal experience, because what would happen was maybe my mind would have like racing thoughts, intrusive thoughts, all these scary things were happening because I was withdrawing from meds. And then I would realize, wait, if I can calm my body down, it would calm my mind down. And if my body was busy, if I could calm my mind down, it would also calm the body down. And so I felt this like really strong connection. Like if one is feeling really bad, if I can regulate the other, it seems to balance everything out. But it was like I had to do it. It wasn't an option, it wasn't a choice. It felt so clear to me. So for instance, this is kind of a easy example so that everybody can understand if you haven't had the withdrawal experience or not, or you have. But like at one point I had to fly in an airplane, and I was so scared. Like my stomach was upset. I was in the bathroom. So then what I did was, after a few flights that were just pure torture, I realized, wait, if I could start guided meditation before I leave home, and I can listen to it when I'm sitting there waiting for the plane to take off, it felt like it kept me really calm. And I would hear the person's voice, and she'd be like, remember, these pilots fly thousands of miles every year, and there's 10,000 planes and it just kept my mind really calm, thereby keeping my body calm, so then I didn't get the upset stomach and the panic and the anxiety. And I was like, oh my God, this is a miracle. So if I can like cut it off earlier. Anyway, so mind, body, spirit, it has become so clear to me that even if I stress from work, I have to regulate that with one of these ways at all times. And it's become such a part of me, it doesn't even take thought anymore. So yeah, talk about that, like with mental health, mental wealth, I should say, the mind, body, spirit connection.
Yeah, okay. Let me show you something visible, okay? Can you see this
Yes.
snow globe?
Yes.
Okay, I have a metaphor that I think I shared in the another event. So anyway, our mind, the natural state of our mind is calmness, okay? At a very, very deep level, our mind is calm. And what happens, obviously, as human beings, we have got stuff happening. We are stressed for something, or we are going to tapering, and then we had withdrawal symptom. What happens is that, when we get stressed, our mind starts like, all these snowflakes are like thoughts. We have a bit more thoughts.
Mhm.
And what happens at some point when we are more frightened, like you talked about the airplane thing, before you even got in there, you're not even on the airplane, but the thinking is like happening this way, okay?
Yes.
And most people will say, "Oh my goodness, I'm overthinking. What shall I do? What shall I do?" And when they say, "What shall I do?" they are even making this even worse because they are trying to fix it.
Yeah.
And there's something about knowing that, okay, perhaps, if I let me not get in the way of the nature of the mind. And once we realize that all experiences, they come and go, I say, and they might get worse, but they might at some point they will settle down. We stop getting in the way, like we stop doing this to ourselves.
Yes.
So I talk about it is as the like our way of regulating ourselves would be to realize, oops, I'm doing it again. I'm doing that with my thinking. And what if I give permission to not do this? And do everything else I need, like do the listen to the CD, or to go for a walk, whatever. But once we stop doing this, it's like we go back to like being able to use our own common sense, our own wisdom, and it will guide us. And it might say, slow down, don't trust your thinking right now. And that's what, when I say mental wealth, I'm pointing people to a deeper part of us which already is like pure, which is like already not broken, which is like our asset, is like our gift when we were and we have been born with it. Okay. And what happens is that I say to people, obviously it's a metaphor, we don't have, the mental wealth, but when we are when we are thinking of something to fix us, or saying, oh, something's wrong with my life, I need to go and do something, I need to go to them, oh, I need to help, I need help, I need help. And constantly we're seeking answers outside. And whilst all this time, it's like we have got this wealth, like we have got this, like our core essence is that we are this pure clarity, or some people might call it my higher self. I call it my spiritual essence. And so that's what I say, like we all have mental wealth already. And a story comes to mind. It's a story about um a beggar begging all his life, and never having enough money. And then someone comes to him and says, okay, you're sitting on a box. They're sitting on what's there? He said, oh, I don't know, it's just an old box I found. So would you like to open it? Oh, don't be silly, what's going to be inside the box? And he was sitting there and begging, and the guy insisted, no, maybe you need to look at it. And he looked there, and it was like full of lots of gold. And obviously it's only a make-believe story, but it drives home the point that we're searching for things to make us better. We're searching for happiness, we're searching for less suffering, and we're thinking, if I do that, I'll have less suffering. If I do that, I'll have more happiness, I'll have less stress. And this is when I talk about mental wealth or self-inquiry or self-care, I'm not talking about just polishing our nails or taking a bubble bath. I'm talking about an opportunity to look within and realize that all this time, because of a very troubled mind, and we are doing this, we have been missing our own resourcefulness. We have been missing our own resilience. And at really horrible times, when we feel lonely, when there's not much help out there, when we know that this place, not this place, but this space is with us all the time, it's like we get hope, and we also get our best answers from that place of that quiet. Okay, we are looking for quiet, we are looking for answers from the mind, like, oh, tell me what's happening, and we speed up, and we think, the more we think hard, the more answers we'll get. But we get answers, but they're crappy answers, the same answers we get. So if we are looking for answers, and we are willing to like get quiet and look within, I think at some point we realize that we already have the answers we're looking for, meaning we already know that, oh, I'm speeding up, I really need to slow down. Oh, I'm looking for happiness out there, but what if I allow myself to be present in this moment, and realize that maybe this is okay as is. I'm not saying that I don't want to change it or anything, but maybe just for now I accept that this is how it looks like to me, and I don't know anything different. I think that's the mental wealth I'm talking about. It's rich when we explore that.
It's oh, you said so many good things. I don't even know where to start. Okay, everything. But it's just okay. So I think I think that's everything that you said is just so rich, because we're and this is what the people that I meet, that I work with, they are always like, where's this program I can go to get off psychiatric drugs, or who do I need to talk to? There's this doctor I need to find, or what else, what other books can I read? And those are all great things. They do tend to bounce you back to yourself, because you have to sit there with the book, or you have to listen to the talk. However, there's this dependence, or this like wanting some easy answer or some solution. I think we've all been socialized that way, but I think it takes a special moment or something really bad to happen to you before you can turn it around and say, wait a minute, like, what does this mean to me? And for me, it was like crashing hard when I realized, wait a minute, I'm taking all these meds and I'm going to all these therapies and nothing is working for me, and I feel worse than ever. And so it brought me back to myself in a horrible way that I should have never experienced. But I'm just like almost speechless, because I think of all the things, like all the little moments of things that helped me the most. And like one of them was Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. And that taught me, you're not your thoughts. These are all like the snow globe. You don't have to pay attention to every single one of them. And you can almost like be the witness and to come back and to watch them. Oh, look at that. Look at all the craziness that's happening. It doesn't mean I'm the craziness. It just means my mind is very busy right now. That was a huge turning point in my mental health wealth journey, was just knowing that I am not my thoughts, and I don't even have to pay attention to them if I don't want to. I took that deeper and said to myself, like, there's no difference between a thought, I need to go to the bathroom, and a thought, I want to kill myself. Like, to me, they're both the same level, and I get to choose what meaning I give to both of them. If I am scared of the suicidal thought and I think it's going to happen and it's going to haunt me and scare me and kick my nervous system up, or I can think, okay, I see you. Thank you for talking to me. That's great. Also things like nature. There's moments when I drive and I don't ever know when it's going to happen, but I will see like a beautiful landscape and it will be like a mirror back to myself. And I feel this sense of calm, like I can't even explain it. I feel my whole nervous system just exhale. Like, oh my gosh, just that sense of awe and wonder. It's to me that's like I'm feeling my inner being, that thing inside of me. I always relate to it as like this light where nothing touched it. All the trauma I've been through, all of the people that have hurt me, all the ways I've hurt myself, all the prescription medication I took, the alcohol I drank in high school, whatever, it didn't touch that. Like that is who I am at my core. And I believe, because of my own spiritual beliefs, that when I die, that thing will go on. I don't know into what form or whatever. Nobody knows that. But for me to have moments where I'm back in touch with that deep well of strength, of resilience, of love, of untouchable, unshakable, I just look at it like light. But I think we're taught to not look at that. Like it's so powerful. I think we're scared of it in a way. I don't know. Okay, what can you say about this? Because
Oh
I'm still
my
speechless.
goodness. I'm like, wow, what are you saying, Angie?
I'm
That's amazing. And the last bit you said, I said, that's mental wealth. That's mental wealth. That's mental wealth. Everything you said. It's like, oh my goodness, this is powerful. So, talking about nature, I think the reason why we resonate with nature is nature reminds us of our true nature. Nature reminds us of our true nature. And when we are with nature, because nature doesn't hurry, nature just is. Nature is like, nothing's happening, just is. And when we connect with nature, we also slow down. No, there are times when we'll be like fast, fast, we were thinking, but we are not being present. But when we allow ourselves to come back to the now with the nature, then it is so easy to remember that, okay, it's just pointing me to my beingness, because nature is just being. And you talked about inner being, that's beautiful. The other thing that you said is extremely, extremely powerful, and I wish most people realize this, is that thoughts are neutral. Absolutely, thoughts are neutral. Whether it's a thought of going to the bathroom, for a pee, or going, having suicidal thoughts, it's neutral. It's the meaning behind it. It's what we think it means. And also, obviously, because it's like different. I would say that it has different intensity to it, doesn't it? Because someone like, oh, I want to go to a pee, so it's still a light feeling that comes with the thought. But with the suicidal thought, it comes with like more like a dark, like deep feeling, like crikey, I can't, I might do something in the harm, or what if something happens? But once people realize that the source of the thoughts is the same, it's you can talk about the power of thought, and we look into the content of our thinking and say, oh, we are trying to fix the thinking. But the more we notice, wow, I have the power to have a thought about going, to the bathroom and choosing to go later. And I have a power exactly like that to have like this thought of killing myself. And I can say, thank you very much. I don't have to pay attention to it as well. So the more we don't, Sydney Banks, like you said, Eckhart Tolle, Sydney Banks, used to be and he's the one who uncovered the three principles, innate health or mental wealth, as I call it. And I love this quote by him. And I think everyone should know about this and understand the true meaning of it. And he says, if only, he said something around, if the only thing people learned was not to get scared of their experiences, that itself would change the world. And like, yes, what's happening is we are getting scared of our experiences. Someone is having a suicidal thought and they think, oh my goodness, I'm having a suicidal thought, what if I do something? And if they were not to be so scared of the suicidal thought, they would be like, okay, it's a very difficult thought for me. I don't have to believe that. Don't have to act on it. And I know that just like it came from nowhere, it will go off again. So that's not me, because if something comes and goes, that can't be me. And the me that's always present is the mental wealth you're talking about, that we might not feel connected to because we feel like we are with the withdrawal symptoms or stuff happening, but it's constant, just like the sun is constant or the blue sky is constant. So thank you. And Angie, that was very, very powerful. I'm going to use it. What you just said about
Go
thoughts,
ahead.
bathroom and suicidal,
No different.
absolutely.
No, and I think you're pointing me back to the same thing. Like if we are conditioned to believe there's some expert to take these thoughts away, to take these experiences away. They're too hard, I can't deal with them. The problem is when you go to one of these experts, they are uncomfortable with their own darkness. So then you're both afraid in a room together. They're afraid of their liability, afraid of your experiences. They don't really know how to understand it, like in the sense of like psychosis or, I don't know. And they might not even be conscious of that. But I think that's where like the medication comes from, the see, all these, let's do all this stuff to stop how you're feeling. I look at it now, your symptoms or your feelings are there for a reason, and they're asking you to learn from them. And I have had to like go straight into them. Like for instance, one of my withdrawal symptoms, which could be a brain injury symptom, I don't know, but when I walk in a store, I get very dizzy, I get disoriented, I feel overstimulated. All these things start happening, and then I get panicked and I get worried about it. And just pick one. It could be, for anybody watching, anything that makes you uncomfortable or scared. I don't care what it is. Just pick a symptom, okay? So I've had to go straight through that, and I will feel it and I go, okay, hi, there you are again. And then I ask myself, first of all, what else do I feel? My legs feel fine. Okay, so let me focus on my legs. And then I'll ask myself, what do you need right now? And usually it's, Angie, slow down. You're walking too fast. Take a deep breath. Everything's okay. Because I have that past, trigger, whatever. But everything that's happening to me all the time, it's always like, instead of trying to fix it or take it away or give it a medication or go to an expert, it's the opposite. It's like, this is my intuition. This is me. My body is telling me, I'm having too much stress. I need to go for a walk. So it's like a moment to moment learning of who I am, what do I need, and that I'm the person with the answer. It's not out there. But that's what it's brought me to. It's flipped me all the way around to myself. And so I want to take that one step further to say, for people listening, if you're in a relationship with any professional, I don't care who it is, it could be your chiropractor, but that somebody who's telling you like that they have the answer or that they're leading you away from yourself, get away from them. Like, it's the opposite to me. It's the opposite. It's, how do I get back to myself? How do I figure out who I am? How do I learn to listen to my feelings, to listen to my intuition? That's what I've found to be like, that's a life worth living, knowing who I am.
Oh, beautiful. You say it so beautifully. And you have lived experience, Angie, of going through this, and you come out from the other side to tell the story of what's possible when you stop looking for experts out there and realize that, you know what? What if I can be my own expert? And for most people, because they're self-doubting, like, who am I? Who am I to even think this is possible? Of course you need to get a good plan. Of course you need to know what you're doing. And then, of course you seek out whoever, but we are talking about dependency here, aren't we? Like, if we get dependent thinking someone else is going to fix it for me and I can't do without them, if they've gone away for holiday for 2 weeks or something like that. So it means that, I'm doomed. None of those. And something you said also reminded me of one of my mentors, a psychiatrist from the US, actually. He shares about this in It Health Understanding. His name is Dr. Bill Pettit. And he says there is a cure for mental illness, but you'll be surprised what he talks about. He says, amongst all the DSM-5 disorders, amongst all the ICD-11 and everything, there's a common theme. And the common theme is chronic stress disorder. And he says, like, once we understand the true source of stress and we realize the implication, we'll know that, even if you say psychosis, even if you say depression, even if you say anxiety disorder, at some level, the body has got into shutdown mode, or it's like flight or flight, and we are misusing the power of the mind. And so there's a very beautiful YouTube video of him talking about there's a cure for mental illness, because if you understand the true source of stress, and that you realize that all the mental health conditions are actually chronic stress disorder in various forms, then you realize that the answer is simpler than you think. Simpler doesn't mean easy, by the way. And I'm sure, we both are not, we're talking about something simpler than what people are thinking. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's easy. It is simple, but it also needs practice. It also means commitment to self-care. Because that's what I keep saying to people, Angie. People have good intentions. They say, well, I'll look after myself and I'll slow down. But there's a difference between intention, intending to, and having a commitment to. Like, no matter how horrible my withdrawal symptoms become, what is it that I can say to myself or do to myself or remind myself of? That's a commitment
Yeah.
that no one else can give you. You are taking responsibility that way, committing to your self-care, to your well-being,
Yeah.
to turning inwards.
That's it. And that reminds me of like one of the first things I do with people when they sign up for a session is we talk about why. Why are you doing this? What is your why? What is your beacon? What is your lighthouse at the end of this? What goal do you have? What person do you want to be? Like I need that so that when they get into the deep darkness that I can remind them like this is why we're doing this, or this is why you said that you wanted to do this at the beginning, or can you pull on that for strength? But deep down I think everybody has this curiosity. Like even when I think of why did I go to psychiatry, or why was I seeking so much therapy, and first of all, as I'm saying the word why, sometimes that feels blaming, like you're not doing it right, or but I mean the word why in like the best sense, like what what is it that drives you? So even when I was doing therapy and psychiatry, my intention was I want to feel better. I want to be my best self. I want to find who I am. So even that was not a misguided thing, but I had to just it basically backfired because I was seeking it outside of myself. So my intention is still the same. Like I want to be the best person I can be on this planet while I still have time. And I don't want to live an unlived life or an unexamined life. I want to feel the good and the bad and in between. I want to feel the deep sadness of just being a human being, and I want to feel love and connection and all of it. So just I don't know, what do you think about that when you see a new person? Do you figure like, because it's a common theme I always hear is I'm just curious. I want to know who I am. I
Mm,
don't know,
yeah.
Do you see that with your
Yeah, sometimes people come and say, I just want to feel normal. That's what people say.
yeah,
And but again, normal doesn't mean that everything was working well. All
yeah,
they mean is that they don't and I'm not even talking about tapering here. I'm just talking about people who just
normal.
come and
Yeah,
say something's wrong with me. I want to be normal again. My thoughts are up and down, and this is happening, that's happening. Obviously there's chronic stress disorder, like Dr. Bill Pettit would put it, and then obviously you can put different labels. And I think people are trying to, you're absolutely right. People are trying to find out who am I, but they are looking in the wrong place.
yeah,
And there's a lovely story about it. Again, these are like fables, aren't they? So it seems like um, God God wanted to hide something very precious from men. Okay, so it said, okay, I want to give them a gift, but I want to give them somewhere where they'll never find it. So where do you think I should be hiding it? And some of the like other creatures said, oh, you should hide them in the like in the jungle, deeper jungle. They will never find it. Someone said, no, 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 you need to put them under the ocean. They'll never find it. Some says go to there, and then said, and then one wise creature said, oh, hide them inside themselves, within themselves, because they're never going to look there for that gift. And this is exactly what we're talking about. It's like we are already home. We already have that mental wealth. We already have what we're looking for, but it can't be that simple. So we're constantly looking until at some point we are fed up, and we are sore with walking, and we are thirsty, we're hungry, and like we have given up, and I say, okay, this is not working. This is really not working. What do I need to do next, kind of thing? And that's when most people are like, they turn inwards. And inwards doesn't mean like, oh, beating ourselves up and say, oh, look at my past. Not that kind of like
right,
timeline. We are not talking about the timeline as a person. When we're talking about turning inwards, we are talking about who am I beyond this mind, these thoughts, this emotion, beyond this body. And
hmm
you explained it beautifully earlier on about there's something, that's formless. It's formless. it's not like you can say, ah, this is it, or it's not inside this body. Do you see what I mean? So we are not looking into the body, but that we are part of something deeper. And the more we explore that is in terms of self-inquiry, something just settles down, and we still have the same challenges. Don't get me wrong, we're not saying that as a result that you won't have any withdrawal symptoms or that you won't struggle from time to time. That's part of being human. But the more we prioritize and explore the being aspect of human, like human being, we are constantly looking at the human and become doing. The more we explore, like, how can I explore more of my beingness, automatically it will be like, let me go for a walk in nature, or let me just sit down and get quiet. I think that kind of solution will come to us when we are asking those questions, like, why am I so unsettled, and what, if I were to create a new life, where is it that I haven't looked already, or I have looked only superficially? What else can I do there? And I think that's where people like might start exploring that there is a deeper dimension to us.
I love that. So I think that begs the question for people in the audience. If they want to start on that, what do you think is like step one?
Start on what?
Just like, I want to know who I am. I don't know what's in there. I was thinking like, there's moments where I would just lay on the ground and just be like, what's in there? I don't even know what's in there because I've been so disconnected from it. So like, what would be like basic step if somebody wants to get to know themselves or to feel that formless part of themselves? Like, where do we look, or how do we do that? What's the how?
Mhm. That's a great question, because it would be different for different people.
Yeah.
And I guess the first step would definitely be openness.
Mhm.
Let's be open. Let's get curious. Let's stop judging. People say, oh, but I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. Well, I'm not talking about religion here. I'm not religious either. And I don't think you are either.
Mm-mm.
It's like saying, okay, I'm open to seeing something new. I'm open because I am so like I was almost about to give up, because my withdrawal has been so horrible, and I just want to learn anything. And so the more people are open to learning anything and are not going to judge, that oh, this is stupid, or what am I even doing, is, and say, let's go into this journey. That's definitely the first step of anything. Second step would be then to explore, like, what are the, if we're obviously talking about being, pointing in the direction of spirituality. And I know that there are lots of, like, people that they can, or books they can explore. But for me personally, although I have read lots and lots and lots of self-help books, I've been like
Same.
binging on self-help books for a long, long time. Like, oh, I need to improve myself. I need to improve
Yeah.
myself. And I guess, it could be anywhere. Some people get a aha insight, like a shift, even in therapy. Some
Yeah.
people might just get a aha moment, even when they are just sitting and say in nature somewhere and watching the sun go down, and this whoa, they are felt by that's like something bigger happening.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be a specific book. It doesn't have to be another course. It doesn't have to be any particular book, although I can recommend some. But
Mhm.
it's about, more being in the now, and doing anything where you just feel present in the now. And I think nature does make it easier for sure. But it doesn't it's not like a one size fits all prescription.
Right.
So that's one thing, anything that allows you to come back to the now. But one of the things that I share with my um, patients and my clients is the inside out understanding. And the person who uncovered the three principles, Sydney Banks, he has written some very good books. Two books I would highly recommend as a starting point if they want to know something about how I see it at the moment. One of the books is called The Enlightened Gardener, and it's basically about a gardener having no clue about, psychology or psychiatry, and all he knows is about being basic and tending to the garden, and how four psychologists came to the from the US to the UK wanting to learn about the human mind, and they got bored of the lectures and they ended up speaking to the gardener, and then like, whoa, what is he talking about, so, and
Mhm.
it made sense to them, but they were not taught about that in any of the psychology lessons. So that's a really good book of like a story, but pointing in the direction of turning inwards and about how not to take our thoughts seriously. And the other book, if someone is suffering from depression, or there's another book he wrote called Second Chance. And I recommend these two books to anyone who's willing to explore. So go to Amazon, or your latest, your bookstores. I think it's definitely on Amazon. Read the summary and see which one you connect to. But if you're looking at really deepening your understanding of the mental wealth or exploration of the self, this might be just a very light-hearted reading. They're not heavy at all. They might be light-hearted reading, and they might give you more questions rather than answers, which is fantastic, because when you ask questions, the answer never comes from the book anyway. Like you said, Angie, the answer is going to come from within. And I know that it's shifted for me because I saw something for myself when I explore, when I just look in this direction. So I would ask people to go, be open and look in the direction, but it doesn't have to be this. You can always do it your way. But the ultimate answer is that you will need to see something deeply for yourself, no matter which way you go. And like you said, Angie, you saw something very powerfully shift in you. That's what led to the transformation rather than a book. Although Eckhart Tolle is a lovely teacher, many people have read The Power of Now and they just threw it away. Like, this
Yeah,
is
yeah. It's true.
bonkers.
It's true.
You saw something deep in that book.
Yeah. No, and that's good. Because we're talking about experience, like what can bring you an experience of what we're talking about. So one thing I always do, this is just about the nature of thought we were talking about earlier, but I teach people, or it's something I learned that would just blew me away. Like, you have all these thoughts, and truth, especially in withdrawal. And I say, just get really quiet, close your eyes, look down, whatever you have to do, and just look in your mind like it's a TV and say, what will my next thought be? And they just sit there, and it's like, wait, it's blank. There's nothing for a split second. That's an experience of like, do you see the nature of the mind? So if you have a little bit of control, I'm not saying that's going to take away all of your mental symptoms. It's not, but you got the experience for a split second that, wait a minute, there's a little pause in there. It's not just this incessant talking. So I think that's what it is. Those books, some people, I went to India for a month, long time ago, to do meditation. And so I had experiences that the meditation brought me closer. I've done like sound healing, where I just sat there and be really quiet and listen to all the sounds. There's all these things that would bring about the stillness. Now, that shouldn't be like an addiction where you just like chase all these things, but once you get that, you can feel it. You can feel it in yourself. And I've drawn on that over and over and over and over and over. And even things like, my sister had a medical thing, and I was like, Liz, you can do anything for 2 minutes. You can do anything for 2 minutes. And like, just knowing that little thing like helped her get through. But I learned that because I was like always brought back to myself. So I think, yeah, helping people get an experience, or you yourself, if you're listening to this, do something that you haven't done in a while, or some kind of curiosity that you had. I wonder what acupuncture is like, or I wonder what this writer has to say in their book. I used to go to the bookstores and just look at all the books and be like, which one should I get? And I would just like kind of follow my intuition. Like, I'm going to take that one. Yeah, there's lots of things. So, this is so good. I could talk to you for another hour. I think I think I do want to talk about one more topic, just because it comes up a lot with people that I'm talking with, in a kind of a coaching relationship. Can we talk about forgiveness and end on that today? I think there's just these moral and religious overtones to this concept of forgiveness. And even when you're in therapy or in psychiatry, you've had all this trauma, these things have happened to you, there's all this pain, there's strained relationships. There's what I noticed when I did my therapy internship is like, people that have hurt them, but they can't even tell them, like, this is how you impacted me. The person can't hold that. Then they are upset with themselves. So there's these themes of forgiveness, like in everything. There's forgiveness of doctors that hurt us. There's forgiveness of like, why didn't I listen to my intuition? I knew that I didn't want to take medicine. There's all these things that forgiveness is happening. But it's never quite sat well with me. Like, I should just forgive. Like, I don't know how to do that. So can you talk about forgiveness from your point of view? What is it? How do we do it? Do we have to do it?
Mm.
What do you think about the whole topic?
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing this out, because if we try to forgive someone else, we might just, we might spend a whole lifetime trying to forgive someone, and we still feel that I just can't forgive them. So it's not, I think that that's not where we need to start. We need to start with ourselves. And just like we talked about turning inwards, what about forgiving ourselves for anything that we think we did wrong, including going to the doctors who prescribed that medication, or who gave the wrong treatment, or whatever it is, or maybe for us feeling guilty that, oh, why did I not listen to my intuition? The other thing about forgiveness is about loving ourselves. And I know that it's not like oh, it's the woo woo thing, or we don't do forgiving, or we don't do loving ourselves. That's
Right.
vain. That's, you don't do that. But when you're talking about healing, when we're talking about healing and we are trying to be harsh on ourselves, we are like hitting ourselves and we're trying to heal, it's not going to help us heal. And if we can nurture ourselves, I'm not saying like, pamper yourself and say, oh, I love you, not that at all. But the more we be able to be kinder to ourselves, the more we catch our thoughts and realize, my goodness me, I can be so judgmental towards me. And I see this, like you said, the noticing is the witnessing. When once we notice it and we realize that, okay, that's affecting my withdrawal symptom even more, or affecting my stress even more, then we know that, okay, I don't need to keep doing this. I can do this, but I'll get the same results. Okay, I'll get more hurt, more upset. So for me, forgiveness comes from working on yourself and forgiving yourself, or loving yourself more. If you don't like the word forgiving, talk about nurturing yourself more, loving yourself more. And then what will happen with time, you'll find you're not even trying to forgive someone else, but it doesn't like, it seems like bit like, why should I waste my energy on trying to hold on to that? And knowing that, when they did it, perhaps they were, innocent. I mean, that doesn't mean that they should have done it, but maybe they were ignorant and innocent, in the sense that they didn't know what they were doing, and they never thought about it that way. And I would say a lot of the doctors I know are good people, but they obviously have some ignorance when it comes to, is this a side effect, is this akathisia, is this something else? And so we have all been there. Even I have had a learning curve, because I didn't know what I didn't know until I saw it.
Right.
And so don't try to forgive someone else, start the journey with yourself. And I'll tell you the last thing, this is something very personal. Long time ago, I lost my father when I was in medical school. He was killed in a bomb blast, and I thought I would never be able to, forgive the terrorists, like who did this to me, my family, and just snatch away my father. I had lots of stories around it, and I was like, I can never forgive you. And I never worked on forgiving them, but as I did my own inner work, I realized that I was not holding on to them as if like that was personal to my dad or anything like that. It was very unfortunate, it shouldn't have happened, but sometimes life is like that. Although we don't want things like that to happen, it can happen, and we might be the recipient of something going on. But the more we work on ourselves and we don't even try to forgive them, you might find that you are in a much better place for your own healing journey. And then you realize that when you're saying that drug is a toxin, so I don't want this in my, you might be saying that. And similarly, you might realize that all this grudging feeling of unforgiveness or hatred might be just eating you up. Like you're already doing this healing work on yourself. So at some point, it will make sense not to do that anymore. But don't force yourself to look inwards and do your own work.
Ugh, that is so powerful. I think there's a lot to that. It's also comes back around with what is healing. I think there's this imaginary we think I'll be healed or I'll be treated from a mental health standpoint when all my symptoms are gone and everything is peaceful and everything is happy. But as you said earlier, being human, I think to me, like healing is all of it. Like I can be okay with all of it, whatever is happening. It doesn't matter if I am hearing voices or I am having really scary thoughts or panic and anxiety, or I'm remembering the pain that somebody caused me. It's like I'm okay with all of it. I'm not trying to get away from it or scared of it. But there's a sense of peace inside that like all that's happening or has happened, but it doesn't like shake me and take me down. So
Yeah.
I really like that the way that you put that, and it's not a forceful thing. Like I think we put deadlines on forgiveness, like well, it's been 5 years since so and so happened, and you need to be over it by now. There's this rush, the same way there is with these mental health symptoms. Like, 2 weeks of grieving, and on week 3, all of a sudden you have a grief disorder.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
come on, let's go, get back to work. But like,
yeah.
it's a process. All of this is a process. Healing is a process. And I mean, I sometimes I take a break and I don't want to do anything healing. I don't want to do nothing. I just want to be who I am and just be okay with all of it and just like surrender to the way that life is. So what do you think about those thoughts?
I agree with you, and you are a perfect example of, you know, um, sharing with people that this is not easy work. We are no by no means say that this is easy. It takes guts, it takes courage to even look inwards rather than blame someone else and say, oh, that that person, that doctor, and I know that it must be extremely difficult, but if we keep doing that, we are just allowing our power to be sucked away.
Yes.
And we are talking about taking our power back,
True.
and
So
and so the more when you like you said, there will be days when it's like, fudge, I'm not going to do any of
nothing.
this. I
Yes.
know this is bad for me. Still going to have that, crisp. I'm still going to have that. And we all have days like that, and we are human. But the more we allow ourselves to be gentle and compassionate and know that, okay, it doesn't mean that because I have committed to healing, it doesn't mean that I can't even take like one day off, or I can't have a day when I'm like, to the whole world. We are
Scream.
human. But
Yes.
when we have this, we have an inner compass. We can get lost, but the inner compass will still point north, will still point inwards. And
Right.
so this is the beauty. Like, we can be human, we can be raw, we can be angry, and then we know that this is not going to last. That's not who we are, and the compass is always going to point us back home. Towards us. And it takes courage and it takes commitment. It's not easy for sure, but it's much easier, I would say, or maybe not easier, but it would be at least a better way of, going on this in this healing journey.
That's it. Wow. I don't want to say anything more because it's just so good. We'll just leave it at that. I think so. If people in the audience want to get a hold of you or read about your website, I know there's a bunch of great articles. Like, I was spending some time. I even saw an article about life coaching for mental health recovering, the emerging practice of recovery coaching. I saw that and I read that paper on your website. How do people get in contact with you?
If you just type Rani Bora, then I think, and psychiatrist maybe, or coach, and I think I should come up. And then anything I've written, any free stuff. Oh, and we have a podcast, so by all means subscribe to our podcast. And Angie was on my podcast, so
Yeah.
it was a beautiful, beautiful conversation. So yeah, there's lots of free stuff out there, if you want to learn from me.
And if you had to leave everyone with like a closing thought, a wish, an affirmation, anything like that, what would you say?
I say this, and I really deeply resonate with this. Like, people can get lost, but they are not broken at a fundamental level. And that's what I would like to leave people with. No matter how much you feel you're lost, or you feel you're broken, fundamentally you cannot be broken. And I'm pointing to our true essence here.
Beautiful. You brought tears to my eyes. That's so true. It's so true. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Rani Bora, for joining us today. Everybody, you can leave comments below. I'll send them back to her if there's anything, or I'll tell her where to read them. Thank you so much for being with me this morning. Now I feel like completely full. I'm gonna have a great day today. I can feel it. My heart is
Thank
full.
you.
I feel inspired. I have all the reminder of all these wonderful books. So maybe if you want to send me a couple book recommendations, I can put them below in the comments for people, just as like a starting out point. But I'll definitely put the Sydney Banks books and my Eckhart Tolle pick. All right. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day, everyone.
You too. Thank you. Bye.